Can anyone stop this Manchester City side? Not while Pep Guardiola's there, that's for certain, because he is an absolute phenom, dominating English football. English football has never seen anything like this. 136 years of English football, and nobody has ever won 4 titles in a row. And they say we've not got history. I mean, I'm just getting over it. A little bit worse for wear today. Of course, I've just finally finished drinking my last portion of Arsenal fan tears, which was delicious. I can't deny. It was absolutely delicious. But you can't stop us. You just can't stop us. I mean, they said you'll never win a trophy. Hanging up your little banners in Old Trafford. You'll never win a trophy, they said. Tick. Did that. Well, you'll never win the Premier League. Tick, did that. One season wonder. You'll never win it again. Oh, well, we did win quite a few, actually, haven't we? 4 in a row as of right now. Okay, fine. Champions of Europe. You'll never sing that. And you'll never win a treble. No one will ever win a treble. Not as good as Manchester United. No one can do that in 1999. Well, tick and tick in the same season. I mean, I'm actually gutted that we didn't come away with a treble this season. If you go back, we're on the verge of winning back-to-back doubles. Again, something that's never been done. Again, they said you've got no history. We've rewritten history. All the things that they said you'll never do, not only have we equaled them, we've surpassed them. And now we can sit back as City fans for a minimum of 4 years and gloat and be proud of the fact that no one will ever achieve that. The likeliness of getting 4 in a row, it's going to take at least 4 years. So we've got 4 years of gloating in the bank. Credit for Manchester City. And I mean, it's just absolutely sensational. It really is. I can't get over it. I genuinely can't believe it. And we're looking on the verge of getting back-to-back doubles. FA Cup coming round the corner. You know, and I feel like City fans are starting to tune into the way the club thinks as well. Because I looked at lots of all the YouTubers, big up to every single one of the YouTubers making Manchester City content this season. They've done a fantastic job. I've really enjoyed this being my first full season of doing it myself. Jumping on board with everyone else in the City community has been fun. It's been fun, but we're not done yet. And I looked at some of the City fans yesterday, and we were all focused, weren't we? They were all focused, and you could see the emotions of the Arsenal fans up and down, not certain, not knowing what to do, but the City fans were just lasered, focused in on the job at hand, knowing full well what we have to do. And it's the club. The club have taught us this way of thinking. We've grown together as a community, as an organisation, as fans and club, going hand in hand and shaking hands with one another to produce an atmosphere. You got a few bad eggs this season. I highlighted them earlier this season. There was a few bad eggs. You get them in every club. Certain individuals that have gone very, very quiet right now that were writing off certain players, writing off the club, saying it's a joke, I'll never watch them again. You know, statements like that have happened this season. And I mean, this is an absolute lesson to those fans. Whether you're the new generation, the old generation, or somewhere in between, your lessons have been learnt this season from numerous people. And I actually think the rival fans had a better understanding of those fans that I've just described, in truth, because the rival fans, they were saying it from the start. The City, a majority were, that City are going to win. And they're absolutely right. They predicted correctly. Now, some argue that that's boring, but for me, this is just absolutely sensational. How can you call us boring when a player like Phil Foden plays for you? And Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland. There is nothing boring about those guys. It's boring. Your teams are the boring ones. That's why you're bored, because your teams don't live up to the quality that Manchester City have. And you say, well, we can't compete. We can't spend the money. We haven't got your money. Well, 105 million on Declan Rice says otherwise. It says otherwise. We pulled out of that bid. We said that's too much money. Arsenal went, nope, worth every penny. Arguably he was, but not quite enough. Not quite enough, Declan. You know, and I mean, he was sat there after the end of the game yesterday just looking around at the Arsenal, well, majority of the empty seats as the Arsenal fans flooded out of the stadium, looking around like, did I make the right decision? Did I? Well, time will tell, because as of right now, wrong decision, mate, because him playing alongside Rodri, yeah, that would be unstoppable. Unstoppable, but I don't know where to go from here as a City fan. I genuinely don't know where to go. It's we've hit the heights that no one will ever achieve again. Not in our lifetimes. We'll all be dead by the time someone achieves something as great as this Manchester City side have ever done, you, me, will all be dead. A comet will have hit this planet Earth more likely than someone doing what Manchester City have done. I truly believe that. And I can't get over it. I can't get over it. And just to think back to my younger days of going away, you know, away Mactown and against York, League One, Stockport County, Bury, these fixtures that we faced back in the day that was just like, and we all enjoyed it, we loved it, but to be here now, and I mean, back a treble followed by a 4th Premier League title in a row, it's just like so much of pain and sorrow that we felt for decades. Some of you even longer as well, older than me, that go way back. I mean, I was there for the biggest pain period of Manchester City when we went down to that division. I was there, sitting in the seats of Main Road and going away to these grimy grounds. So I remember the most painful part. And part of me is a little bit glad that I was old enough to be part of that pain, because it makes this day so much sweeter. And I can testify that I am speaking for quite a few Manchester City fans. And even if you weren't there back then, it doesn't matter. It only highlights for me the bigger gulf in the journey that we've been on. And if you weren't there, that's cool for me. I've got no problem with the new generation of City fans. I welcome every one of you, and I'm sure every single City fan welcomes all the new generation of City fans, because if you weren't alive, you weren't alive. What can you do about that? Do you know what I mean? But right now, if you are alive and you are a Manchester City supporter, lap it up. Enjoy every single second of this, because I mean, we won't see this ever again. And that's a big question for me, is if Pep is still the manager in 2026, I mean, who's going to stop us? Next year, Arsenal are likely going to go in big in the transfer market. But who's to say? Why would you think anything other than Pep Guardiola and his Manchester City side are going to win the league again? I think I doubted them a little bit this season because of the treble hangover. It was sort of there a little bit. You could see that the players weren't quite hitting the heights that we wanted them to. They weren't anywhere near the levels of last season. But this season, they've still got the job done. And doesn't that echo a huge problem for Arsenal going forward if they are our closest challengers, with Liverpool likely going to have to find their feet under Slot? Will Tottenham go big under Ange Postecoglou next season? Maybe. I could see them doing things. Chelsea have definitely started to climb the table towards the end of the season. Pochettino starting to prove, you know who I'm talking about, a certain individual Chelsea fan that only makes content when they lose, has gone very, very quiet all of a sudden. So they are on the up. They could climb and be a challenge to Manchester City next season. But that challenge is almost welcomed by Manchester City, because without it, I feel like we don't play our best football. Pep has said it himself. We've received the message. Every time a team has pushed us, we've absorbed that energy and taken it and used it against them. And every time they try and do something to hurt us, we use it against them. The charges. We went on an unbeaten run. We had a stinker of a game against Aston Villa and everyone laughed at us. City are not the same. Unbeaten since December. Unbeaten in 2024. We just smashed the crap out of everybody on our way to another Premier League title. Incredible. I don't know what else to say. Well, that might as well move on to the player ratings if that's the case, because let's have a look at yesterday. Let's have a look at the match stats first, because they are so dominating, and it's mind-boggling to me to see these numbers in the circumstances, in the situation that we were in the last day of the season. No room for error. Has to be spot on. Play the football we play, and play it so calmly and dominate the football match like this. It's incredible, it really is. And it shows the mental capacity that Pep Guardiola installs into these players. 71% to West Ham's 29%. 28 shots. 28 shots on the final day of the season. 12 of them on target. Brilliant. To West Ham's 3, 2 on target. 2.04 XG for City to their 0.36. A wonderful goal from Kudus that absolutely put the frights up Manchester City fans. I mean, me included. We all, a little bit then, didn't we? We all went, oh shit. But we got the job done in emphatic fashion in the end, didn't we? One big chance to speak of. Erling Haaland, mate, he's got to finish that. We'll get onto that shortly. 730 passes to West Ham's 246, 12 fouls for West Ham as well to our 3, and 1 yellow card handed out. Stefan Ortega couldn't do anything about the goal other than that. Very quiet performance. 1 save in the first half. Again, I think it was from Kudos. 20 touches, 88% passing accuracy. Distribution was pretty good. Wasn't really required very much because the ball very rarely entered our half. But when it did, wasn't bad when it came to distribution. Again, couldn't do anything about the goal. We need to get this guy a new contract. We absolutely do. And somehow persuade him that Ederson is still probably our number 1, but you're going to get plenty of minutes. I mean, at the end of his season, surely he's going to want to look at his trophy cabinet, because this is the club to be at if you want your trophy cabinet to be full at the end of your season. So maybe that could persuade him. Hopefully he's here next season. Kyle Walker, great, really good. I mean, 124 touches from Kyle Walker. That shows his involvement in this game was through the roof. 97% passing accuracy. Brilliant. Fantastic from Kyle Walker. 2 tackled, 3 ground duels. He won 2 of them. 2 clearances, 4 interceptions, 2 dribble attempts. He completed 1 of them. Brilliant from Kyle Walker. Really, really pleased that he silenced a few people towards the end of the season. I don't think he had an amazing season at this first half. A couple of mistakes crept into his game. He got battered for it. Unnecessarily so, by some people that I'm not happy with. I thought it was a bit harsh. More than harsh, very hateful. It wasn't pragmatic, it wasn't logical, it was just a scapegoat, someone to bitch about, and I felt like the second half of the season he's shut them up. He's played well. I'd like to see, because I will be doing a season review at some point, I'd like to see how his stats over the course of the season compared to last season. Going forward as well from Kyle Walker's been brilliant this season, with quite a few number of assists to his name as well. Great, 7.5 for Kyle Walker. Ruben Diaz, he was all right. Not brilliant, not bad. Not too much to do, in truth. I was expecting a little bit more of a battle between Antonio and Ruben Diaz. Never really came to the surface. They didn't really tangle at any point, with only 1 tackle, no clearances. 1 ground duel for Ruben Diaz. He won it. And he won half of his aerial duels, which were 4. It was okay from Ruben Diaz, 6.5. Josko, equally brilliant as Kyle Walker, arguably a touch better. I've still given him a 7.5, the same as Kyle Walker, but I do think he was brilliant, Josko Gvardiol. I felt like he could have dealt with that situation with Kudos's overhead a little bit better if he was a little bit more forthright with his defensive actions. Allowing Kudos to set himself up, for me, was the moment where, because Gvardiol stuck his foot out to get to that ball. If he was a little bit more aggressive, he could have cleared the ball and got that ball high in the sky, something for Ortega to then buy him some seconds to get underneath it and potentially catch it, or another defender to lean on Kudos to stop him from smacking the ball in the back of the net with a sensational overhead kick. I mean, he could have been thinking about giving away a penalty, maybe going in a little bit tentatively, but you can't do tentative in those situations. You have to make your decision one way or the other, go for it or try and do something different. And in that situation, he sort of went for it, and yeah, he should have really gone a bit harder there. Outside of that moment, he was brilliant. And I mean, he's an example for me of how well the board's done this season, because you look at Josko Gvardiol, I mean, not off to the greatest starts this season, but was never really bad. He found his feet in the final half of the season, really, I'd say. Maybe if you're going to be critical, probably the final third, when he started to score those goals. But that's not what he's in the team for. But he's been brilliant on the ball as well for me. Defensively, he's improved over the course of the season. I feel like Doku got off to a flyer. I feel like Doku's substitute appearances towards the end of the season have also been good. Doku was brilliant yesterday. There's 2 signings that were brilliant. Kovacic, third signing. I thought he was absolutely sensational. Over the final half of the season was pivotal in the way we were controlling football matches, helping Rodri. Nunes is the only one for me that hasn't hit the heights, but I feel like we'll see the best of him next season. And that's 3 out of 4 were almost, you can't call them instant successes, but I would call them successes. And the board have been nailed in the transfer market. They said it was a failure, it was a bad transfer window. The board, stick with them. They know what they're doing. They've absolutely got it right. In a season when we're trying to replace Riyad Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan, which is not the easiest thing in the world to do, they've delivered. They've delivered a Premier League trophy, and they were this close to another bloody treble, you know? Brilliant from Josko. 5 tackles, a key pass interception, 6 out of the 8 ground duels he won. Brilliant. 7.5 for him. Manuel. A couple of mistakes crept into his game. I felt like he was a little bit nervous. It showed, but I wanted to highlight his distribution because I felt like on the ball he was really good when he was trying to spray those balls around. That's why I've included the long balls into the stat board there for 4 attempted. He completed all 4. Just to give you an idea, Nathan Ake tried 4 when he came on, and he only completed 1 of them. So that's the side of Manuel Akanji's game that for me doesn't get enough credit. His actual ability on the ball is totally underrated. Totally underrated. A couple of mistakes here and there that allowed West Ham to mount a counter-attack that never really came to anything, thankfully. But again, people are going to look at that mistake against Spurs as well. No, I don't think we need to get on his back too much about that. 7 out of 10 for me was justified for Manuel Akanji. He was decent enough. Nathan Ake, very little to speak of. I've not put the numbers about the long balls on his stat there, but you can see 19 minutes, he had no defending to do. No defending to do whatsoever, which is why there are zeros in all the columns, and 6 out of 10 is all I can really give him for that. Rodri. I nearly gave him an 8.5. I felt like he should have scored in the first half with that little toe bunger that hit the side of the net, but he redeemed himself by getting that goal in the second half that was so important. Areola should have saved it. Don't care. Who gives a shit? He put it into the back of the net and went wild with celebrations. And I mean, what a player. What a player he is. And another 8 out of 10 performance is kind of like the minimum for Rodri, isn't it? 94%, 2 key passes, a tackle, 3 shots, 2 on target, 2 ground duels. 2 ground duels as well. Shows how much City controlled the football. We didn't really need to do any defending or any of the hard graft. Rodri normally gets much higher ground. I'll tell you why. Because there's one player that did do all the work for us, and you'll see in a minute who was absolutely grafting his heart out for Manchester City in a blue Manchester City shirt as well, and I'll show you in a minute. Phil Foden, and it's not him, by the way, but he does get man of the match for a sensational goal. A second goal that was sweeped into that bottom corner beautifully. What a player. Player of the season, hands down. I don't know how. I'm running out of superlatives for this guy because he's just grown and blossomed. He's turned into a proper man, hasn't he? He really has grown. Not physically, he's still not the biggest guy in the world, but he's mentally grown, man. The guy can handle more than the big stage. He loves the big stage. And I mean, he loves the small stage. At any stage, just put him on the stage. He needs a stage. Always play this guy, and he's just going to get better and better and better. Can't wait to see what else this guy can deliver, because he's not even at the peak of his career yet. What is left for Phil Foden? Surely a Ballon d'Or at some point in his career is the least this guy deserves. Arguably, this year, if we go and win the FA Cup, and whatever England do in the Euros potentially, whether they play a role, they should do. What's left for this guy to do? Honestly, he has 6 Premier League titles already. He's 23. Insane. 95% passing accuracy, 6 shots, 4 of them on target, 2 of them end up in the back of the net. 5 ground duels, he won 2 of them. 5 key passes. 1 dribble attempt, it was successful, and he gave the ball away 11 times. 9.5. Man of the match for Phil Foden. Brilliant. De Bruyne, he was good. I thought he was much better than he was in the previous 2 games. He didn't get an assist or score a wonder goal or anything, but he was really, really good. I thought he was putting himself about a fair bit as well, which was good, as you can see with the ground duels. Again, more than Rodri, which is rare for Rodri to have so little to do when it comes to the defensive side of the game, but the players in front of him were doing a good job of keeping West Ham pinned onto their edge of the area. Created a big chance, of course. 5 key passes to his name. Typical Kevin De Bruyne numbers, but he maintained the ball really well yesterday. Normally he was going for that killer ball, but he didn't lose his head, didn't try anything silly. He kept it simple. I would have loved to have seen a Kevin De Bruyne assist, because I would love nothing more to give him a higher score than 7.5, but I still feel like he played really, really well. And if he was to manage to get himself an assist or a goal, he'd definitely be getting a higher score. But yeah, really good. Need to see the same again in the FA Cup final from KDB. There you go, Jeremy Doku. There's the hard work for you, mate. 22 ground duels. Are you having a laugh? 22. And he won over half of them. 5 tackles. And that's not what he's on the team for, but I love it. I live for this. I love that stuff. Hard working. He's got all the finesse, all the dribbling ability in the world. In spades, he can dribble. I mean, the guy knows no bounds to his dribbling ability. It's sensational. As you can see, 10 dribbles. He completed 5 of them. He was bypassing Kufal more than half of the occasions he tried to. He got double teamed in that second half, and that's when those numbers started to dwindle because they were sending 2 players out to deal with Doku, which is just a compliment to who Jeremy Doku is and what he's all about. But for me, the ground jewels and 5 tackles, those numbers are absolutely fantastic, and it's exactly what the team needs on the final day of the season. We just need the 3 points. Doesn't shy away from hard work. And I love that. I love it. Because too many wingers out there are lazy. They don't want to get back. You think of Vinicius Jr., he's not the biggest at getting back. Rashford is one of the worst for getting back for me. Mbappe, he hates getting back. Kulachevsky. There's so many wingers in my head that I know they don't love getting back. But it's not even about getting back. It's just the hard work that Jeremy Doku, he loves the fight. He's so strong and stocky. You're not getting it off him. Brilliant from Jeremy Doku. He gets himself an assist as well. Should have had more. It's for me. I felt like he should have scored. Areola pulled off a couple of good saves. Some that were deflected just past the post. He was unlucky not to score, but he did get the assist. The least that he deserved from this game is an 8.5. Fantastic from Jeremy Doku, and we've not seen the best of him yet. Next season it'll be, we can't compete. There's Jeremy Doku, he's brilliant. Yeah, we paid 50 million for him, mate. Do you know what I mean? Who can't pay 50 million in the top 6 for a player like Jeremy Doku? We're going to see him absolutely tear up trees next season. Can't wait. Bernardo Silva, will we even see him next season in a Manchester City shirt? That is the big question for the summer for me. We struggled but succeeded in replacing Gundogan and Mahrez because we have, not technically like for like, but we've replaced them by winning the trophies. If we hadn't won the trophies, people would say, well, we failed to replace them. We didn't. We won the Premier League. So we've succeeded in replacing the very difficult holes that Riyad Mahrez and Ilkay Gundogan left behind. Those holes were filled. Whether that hole was filled spread over multiple players doing the job that Ilkay Gundogan and Riyad Mahrez did over a period of time. However we did it. Doesn't matter. It was a success. We won the Premier League. So the next task will be Bernardo Silva in potentially replacing him. If he is to go, how are we going to replace him? Because again, similar for Jeremy Doku, he loves a work rate as well. Ground jewels, 4 out of 4. Well done. Not quite the numbers as Jeremy Doku, but still, 4 attempted. He won all 4. 3 key passes, 2 assists to his name as well. Bernardo Silva, fucking brilliant, mate. Absolutely love the guy. Love him. And I mean, I'll be so upset when he goes. I really will. And I think a lot of people will. I know Pep will, most importantly, be the most upset out of everybody because he's his favourite and he loves him. Pep absolutely adores Bernardo Silva. And I can see why. 2 dribbles as well, 2 completed. 8.5 is the least that he deserved. It's fantastic. Really is. Erling Haaland. There was Kovacic as well. Came on for a minute. I'm not going to include him, but I am going to speak about Erling Haaland because he played the full 90 minutes. I thought his hold-up play in the first half was quite good. He actually sent Jeremy Doku away for the assist to Phil Foden. It was good hold-up play, and Haaland did a couple of bits in the first half where City could bounce the ball off him quite well, and his touch was good. His hold-up play was good. He was bringing other players into the action in the first half. He went a bit missing in that second half. He missed 2 sitters for me. Well, not a sitter. The second one where he got a strong left foot on it. Zuma was stretching for it, didn't reach it, and Haaland gets it over the bar. The one where Guardiola cuts it back across the face of goal, I'm going to give him an excuse there because it was so awkward. It was like shoulder height. In that split second, you've either got to do something incredibly acrobatic, which is what he tried to do, and it didn't come off. He couldn't connect with it sweetly to put it into the back of the empty net, or go with your head. He actually had time to bring it down on his chest and then tap it into an empty net, but he didn't do that, unfortunately. But that's the end of Manchester United, isn't it? Because when this guy doesn't score next game, the next team are in trouble. But that's what we're going to see, hopefully, going forward from Erling Haaland, is some FA Cup final goals against Manchester United. That would be sweet. It really, really would. But 6.5 is all I can give him. Either way, I don't think he cares about whatever score he's given because he's got a Premier League medal, again, round his neck this morning. Manchester City are the champions. Who can stop this Manchester City side? I don't know. Answers in the comments below, and get your comments in the below regarding these player ratings as well, and let me know what your thoughts are, who played well, who didn't play well. I'm going to be doing a season review at some point, but that will be after the FA Cup, of course, because I've got to factor that in. Fantastic. Manchester City, champions, 4 in a row. Hold that. Here we go. Get in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now.